you'll notice that all of these numbers are in ppb.
Parts per billion.
Right. So it's saying 9,360 parts per billion, which would be 9.3 parts per million. Make sense?
Yeah.
31 parts per million calcium.
Gotcha.
So if you don't do the conversions, then you don't actually get the accurate number. So what I showed her was this. And you can see it right here on the screen.
Oh.
So basically, 1 milligram per kilogram equal, 0.001 part per thousand.
Mm-hmm.
So you would need 1,000 milligrams per kilogram to equal 1 part per thousand. But 1 milligram per kilogram also equals 1 part per million.
Mm-hmm.
However, to get to the ppb, you need 1 milligram per kilogram equal 1,000 parts per billion. So that, in short, their tests, so like I said in her example, phosphorus was 8 parts per million in her test.
So it's not minute enough, basically. Right.
Wow. The most accurate numbers that I've ever seen come from, let me duplicate this tab.
Is this helping, Kat? Is this making sense?
Yeah. Well, it was like when I did my rain sample tests, I didn't do the conversions. It was UG per liter, and then I had to, I was looking for my own known exposure limits for inhalation and ingestion, and I needed to make that conversion. So no, it's making sense to me. Parts per million versus billion. Yep. And it's
so if you go to this page, it's Cirrus Clouds Matter. I just updated this literally like a couple days ago because I wanted to put the most important shit at the top of the page. So this infographic, though it's been in probably 100 videos that I've made, I've never actually had it on my website. So I wanted to put this chart up so that everybody could see it. And everything highlighted in red are the metals that are in the jet exhaust that have been detected. And the reason why it matters is because when you look at what they actually did, chemical characterization of freshly emitted particulate matter from aircraft exhaust using single particle mass spectrometry. This is able to pick up nanoparticles.
Right. Who can test it for us that way?
90% of the labs that you're going to go to are not going to have the kind of equipment. That's why I laughed so hard at Dane whenever Dane was flying up there, and then him and his dumbing documentary, The Dumbing, you guys seen it? In The Dumbing, him and the scientists are sitting there talking about things that are micron size.
Right.
Which is like the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard, because if we're looking for metals that are nanoparticles, they would not be visible. You would need electron scanning microscope to even see them. Furthermore, they would be in, because, again, what we said earlier, soot, aka black carbon, has graphene lamina, a membrane, wrapping it, and in that nugget of elemental carbon, which is mostly spherical, contains all the metals. So it even says right here in the paper, which at the top of the page, and I got a MLA reference for you, the detected metallic compounds were all internally mixed with the soot particles.
Wow.
This is amazing. Go ahead.
This is where the metal comes from. And it wouldn't matter that much, because most people go, well, we're only talking about, parts per, million. What's the big fucking deal, Jim?
Yeah.
So I'm going to really mess you up right now, because there's this guy named Dirk, and Dirk is a dork like me, of the highest caliber. And I said to him, I need this reference. You mentioned this reference. I need this reference, but it's only in Dutch. And I said, hey, where'd you get the Boeing 747 emits up to 100 quadrillion
What?
ultrafine 100 it's even worse. 100 quadrillion ultrafine soot particles per second. I'm gonna put that quote in chat because it is legit. And he said thanks came from Dutch mainstream media, National Research Council behind a paywall, but here are the links. Here's the charts, all that. So I did verify it, and yeah, so that gives you a good number. It's that bad. So we're talking an absolute ridiculous amount. I have other papers, emissions of ultrafine particles from civil aircraft, dependence on aircraft type and passenger load. So you guys are talking about why some persist, why some don't. There's also a lot of other factors that, not just the Appleman factor. It's also about the size of the particles versus the amount of available water vapor. And Appleman actually has it kind of, it's dated. It hasn't been fully updated to understand the newer science, like things like chemi-ions and nanoparticles in particular. So chemi-ions is another word that I know you've never heard before, but basically, look, the first thing it says, negative chemi-ions formed in jet fuel combustion. It's the first result. There's only 84 results.
Primary positive ions and free electrons
Formation of chemi-ions in hydrocarbon flames proceeds via radical-to-radical reactions producing primary positive ions and free electrons. So there's an ionization factor that happens whenever the fuel is burnt as well. So you have ionized graphene soot particles that are loaded with metals. So the only thing you need for cloud creation is three things: water vapor, a cloud seed, something for it to nucleate on, and normally galactic cosmic rays are the primary source of natural cloud formation, but because we don't need galactic cosmic rays, planes are actually generating chemi-ions. They have their own ionization method built in. And guess what? With high bypass turbofans, it's even more. They produce more clouds than the older style engines because they compress all of that liquid that's already available into a hot stream of rapidly cooling cloud seeds. So it's not cloud seeding in the silver iodide sense, but as we've stated now, not only soot but carbon black and black carbon are excellent cloud seeds. Carbon black, military; carbon black carbon, civilian aircraft. Why does this matter? Because it is geoengineering the sky, regardless. And I put this as the second quote on the page on Cirrus Cloud Matters, because if you know just these two things, you should be like 90% of the way there. Though airborne, black carbon is known to dissipate and settle down in a few months under the influence of rain and wind and is unlikely to travel upwards of 4 kilometers. However, a group of scientists, including the Indian Institute of Science and ISRO Vikram Sarabhi Space Center, say they now have evidence of such particles existing up to 18 kilometers in the stratosphere, and that black carbon, there are 10,000 black carbon particles for every cubic centimeter.
Oh my God!
Of the stratosphere. Now you combine that with what I just showed you. These metals are in those black carbon particles. There's 10,000 per cubic centimeter. Now I'm really going to discuss to you. Let me go to my research folder and just go to...
Great job so far.
This. Jet fuel consumption by country. Now, this is just 2021. And if you look at the number 1369, that doesn't sound like much till you go all the way to the bottom here and you read, the indicator estimates the volume of jet fuel consumption within a country expressed in thousands of barrels per day.
Can you give us that link, please, sir?
Yes. So what do we determined here? We've determined that the United States, because they said thousands, so we can just literally move that decimal and add a 0 to the end. It uses 1,369,000 barrels jet fuel per day.
Oh my God.
Just the United States.
No wonder why.
That a single 747 produces, what, 100 quadrillion soot particles per second?
Oh my God.
And then you consider the final piece of the straw, that when you go to ADS-B Exchange and you see all of the flights, this is just what's in the air right now. Come on, bitch, I got a gigabyte per second. What are you waiting on? This is our sky right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about just America using, 1.3, and that's not even the height, because 2019 it was actually 1.7 million barrels per day before COVID. And 2022, it was back up to 1.6. So they're showing the 2021 numbers for some reason.
It's shocking when you see that visual.
Yeah. So when you look at the ADS-B Exchange, what you do is you look at by height and altitude, and what you actually see is a lot of pink.
Mm-hmm.
And every single pink plane is currently flying in near the tropopause, if not in the stratosphere.
Mm.
And every single one of these that's a private plane, which is this icon right here, I'll guarantee you it's 40, right there, 43,000 feet on that one. Another private plane, 43,825 feet. Private plane, 44,000, 45,000 feet. Every single private plane that I click on will be over in the stratosphere.
Mm.
Can I get an amen, Jeff? Is that correct to you?
Yeah, that is correct. And the thing, too, is I did a little study the other day just for the heck of it. The tropopause varies everywhere. It's deeper, higher down south. It's really low up north. So up north, it's about 30,000 feet now. Every single aircraft that's above 30,000 feet at 50 degrees north, which is Washington,
which
Michigan,
is every single plane that's up here right now.
Everyone is in the stratosphere. It got all that stuff gets above the tropopause, which is a tropopause is an inversion. Naturally, if it's in the troposphere, it'll have a hard time getting there, but they're getting the fast path to the stratosphere.
So every single plane, pretty much north of any plane over Canada, for that matter, you would say that the tropopause at the equator is roughly 40 to 42,000 feet.
More than that.
Huh?
Today it's 50,000 anywhere down.
I mean, it varies also based on solar cycle. That too. So there's that. Right now we're in a solar maximum. When we hit 2030 during a solar minimum, that'll actually change significantly. Have you ever seen the numbers on that, Jeff?
No, but it's going to get a lot lower.
Yeah, it'll get much lower because during solar minimums, the ionosphere is weaker. Therefore, the shields of our planet are down. Galactic cosmic rays can penetrate deeper into the atmosphere, creating more clouds at lower altitudes because of the deeper penetration.
So we can expect even more trails then in the near future.
Right. You should see less trails now than you will see during the solar minimum.
And when does that kick into gear?
2030.
2030 will be the peak, the trough. So right now we're in the peak of solar cycle 25, I think.
Yeah, we're peaking in 25, but that's a mini cycle inside the big cycle.
Yeah. Then there's
That's the
grand
11-year
there's
cycle.
grand solar minimums and maximums, and 2030 to 2031 is projected to be the lowest the sun had put out in quite some time. Let's just put it that way. Let me see this. Right up here, if you see there's a U.
Yep.
This is the one that says only show the U2 and other military planes. So there is a button on ADSB Exchange for
Oh,
that.
wow. Wow. Oh, look how much there's in California.
I mean,
They-
that's a C-130 right there. That's a C5. Yep, C5.
These names are familiar. These names are familiar. It's funny. I've seen a lot of these. Yeah.
Do they ever hide these as well on this platform? Do they hide them too?
No, that's why I only use ADSB Exchange.
Can you send that link to me for that AV whatever it is? There we go. Yeah.
You guys, I have to get off right now, unfortunately. Are you recording this, Kat?
Jeff is. Thank God.
You send it to me, Jeff?
Okay, guess what, guys? I somehow neglected to hit the record button until about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, but I know you got. That's okay. That's the part I want too. So.
Yep.
It's okay. Okay, I gotta go. Hey guys, Jim, Jeff, Kat, Seth, thank you, all of you, so much. This is just. I don't want to get off the call, but I have to. So it's amazing.
Good to see you, Renee. Excuse me.
Yes, I hate to exit, but I will exit now. Thank you so much. Bye.
See you, Renette.
Bye,
That's
Renette.
a damn Osprey right there. I mean, that you never see that on there.
Is that a drone up to the left of it? That's a drone right there, yes?
That's F-16 probably.
Oh,
it's non-designated, but they've got it shaped like an F-16, so I'm gonna assume that's what it is. But yeah, that's an Osprey.
They fly out of Miramar all the time. That's where that one came from. So they like I'll get not just Ospreys, but the Apaches, the F-18s, F-35s, the Ospreys. They fly over where I work like a dozen times a day.
Yeah. Why so many in California right now? I notice them so often. I sometimes I wonder if the cloud cover is to hide their activity, but I don't see the purpose. Most Americans go raw military. So
yeah, I mean,
that's gross.
Well, there's one near my house. That's about it, I rarely ever see, I don't have the problems that y'all have. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But I did find the button up here, and you just click U, and it filters out everything but military.
Wow.
So they do have that built in. And when you look at ADSB Exchange's front page, so if I just go to ADSB Exchange, not Globe, I only go to the Globe page, so it's like, you want me to go to the Globe page?
Oh my God. Yeah, look at that.
Let me take this off real quick. So,
wow.
They had a great little thing. Let me see if I can find it. About.
Hey, Jim, before I forget, I wanted to circle back to this cloud seeding and carbon black and basically my sort of theory is like, okay, if I'm an evil mastermind and I'm doing this, I am geoengineering, I'm doing it in plain sight, I've come up with a plan to do this using existing engine systems, et cetera, I would be interested in muddying the waters by fielding more fantastical theories to draw attention away from, what you're explaining to us right now appears to actually be going on, and thus discrediting my opposition and getting people to just dismiss it as like the most wild, fantastical stuff. Now, that's not to say I still don't believe that there are things that are being delivered by air, such as synthetic biological life fibers and whatnot, and those weird spider webs and whatever. But it seems like we have plenty of criminal,
you mean like these things, like biological warfare, human?
Yeah,
testing?
yeah, exactly. But I mean, just the day-to-day.
I cover that too, but
I know, but just the day-to-day pollution is enough to be in theory, should raise an outcry like, look, we can't. Maybe we need to think about not eliminating, but drastically reducing airborne domestic continental travel, and just save the jet aircraft for the overseas flights or something.
That was kind of the whole point of what I started looking at it, and I said, the more I look at it, the more I believe the goal of the chemtrail conspiracy is clear. Keep people distracted while scientists and the military experiment in our sky. Make it as crazy as possible. It's Borgellons, it's nanobots, it's, Alana Freeland, it's transhumanism. All of this shit is noise. And if you filter out all the noise and you don't look for Dr. Evil and you just look at, peer-reviewed journals and what the scientists themselves are saying, behind closed doors, behind the paywalls, and, adding it all up, you go, well, damn, that's why I call them plane farts. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you call it a chemtrail or a contrail. That plane fart is turning into a cirrus cloud. And cirrus clouds matter because the most common, the reason why I made these frequently asked question pages is because people don't understand, the basics of this. So I wanted to arm people with the slave speak free version of chemtrails, meaning that even in their own journal entries, they refer to them as, and this is the director of HAARP I'm friends with, legitimate chemtrail science. Like, he had a great sense of humor, and he took my side while I was fighting a Fox meteorologist, Paul Delgado. He's like, you're wrong, dude. I work at HAARP, and by the way, I'm doing legitimate chemtrail science up here with sounding rockets. But, these are all the terms that they use. Persistent contrails, spreading contrails, contrail cirrus, contrail-induced cirrus. That's the most common, that you'll see. They even CIC or AIC, aviation-induced cloudiness. If you're looking in Google Scholar and you use these terms, I actually have the numbers on how much each of these are used. But I break it down to the simplest form. It's just artificial clouds. They are man-made clouds. They're not natural. They're man-made clouds. Well, how are they man-made? And I tell everybody this one because, this is the number one thing that they'll say. Contrails are just condensation, just harmless water vapor. Response, condensating on what? If you miss this question, if you don't understand how propaganda works and how ontology, etymology, how mind control and manipulation occurs through language, then you'll miss the ability to combat these people. And, every scientist that I've ever talked to, when I ask them this question, they either chuckle or they shudder. Because they always, they think that they could just, easy walk over me because, of course, they hear a Southern accent. They think I'm a freaking redneck, and immediately they're like, this is going to be an easy one. Oh, it's just water. It's just condensation trails. Well, condensating on what? I'm like, fuck. Right, immediately. So that's the big problem, is that people, they don't want to, really get to know all of this information. I've done hundreds of different talks on this sort of topic, and everybody wants secret pumps and pipes, and you were asking the question, well, how the hell would they pull that off? The only place I've actually seen it really done is in the interactive timeline on that weather. Let's see, hurricane. You know what? This is going to be much harder if I don't just sort the entire page. So let me go to hurricane control. Hurricane modification. Now that's much easier because there's only a couple responses. So in this picture, what you'll see is they actually show not only, that they're using carbon dust to steer hurricanes, but they show the engine. And they show the compressor, the burner, the turbine, the afterburner, and then it says carbon make section, then the nozzle. So it would be an engine modification specifically designed to create the carbon dust or inject it directly from the exhaust in the engine.
That was the engineering component you were referring to from the first few documents you showed us. So I guess I want to ask, so Seth just said maybe we reduce travel, right? Is there a way to make cleaner jet fuel? Where do we go from here with this? Because where do we go from here?
The problem is that, they keep saying the same thing over and over again, and it's just the same bullshit. So, I went to the EPA in 2015, and I testified in Washington, D.C., and they said the exact same thing that they're saying back in 1970. 2 states sue airlines over smoke pollution of the skies. So Illinois and New Jersey officials will not settle pollution suits over the nation's major airline carriers out of court. And this is the part where it gets interesting. The government tells the nation's 43 commercial airlines Tuesday they must end pollution of the skies with jet engine smoke by 1972 or face punitive legal legislation from Congress. To do this, they designed a redesigned combustor or burner can on 3,000 existing commercial jets and reportedly account for 70% of all smoke pollution from airliners. That burner cans can cut out something like 70% of visible pollution, that black belch, black carbon, that is creating the clouds that are blocking the skies of Illinois and New Jersey. The problem is they said the same thing when they went to the whole biofuels for contrail control. They said, well, we can use biofuels and that'll cut down on soot emissions, and guess what, that'll result in a 70% reduction in soot emissions. But again, it's the exact same number they said in 1970. That did not work. So every time you ask them, what are you going to do about this, when they actually get caught or somebody tries to sue them, and this is what I explained to Renette, this is why Renette isn't suing the FAA or the ICAO or any of them, is because it's damn near impossible. Let's just put it that way. And then they have these other, technologies for geoengineering that don't account for just, the fuel itself, adding sulfur directly to the fuel. So all of these are different, ideas: dissolved or suspended in the jet fuel, later burned with the fuel, injected into the hot engine exhaust, modification of cirrus clouds to reduce global warming, 2009, addition of sulfur to the fuel, attachment of a nozzle to release it from its own tank, benefits, risk, costs of stratospheric geoengineering. All of these, say, stratospheric passenger flights are likely an inefficient geoengineering strategy, but then they go on to say, access flights test biofuels with JP8 doped with sulfur. Finland's FICA Cool project. Another technique examined was the use of commercial passenger aircraft flying at high altitudes to inject sulfate aerosols emitted by aviation fuel into the stratosphere. Already proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that black carbon from aviation ends up in the stratosphere. I also told you sulfuric acid is on that graphene-coated black carbon that has been found at 18 kilometers. 10,000 per cubic centimeter. If they add sulfur to the fuel, they would be directly injecting sulfur into the stratosphere. Commercial aircraft could be used to deliver sulfate into the stratosphere. All of these references, you click them, they go down here and they tell you. Here's the paper. Studying Geoengineering with the Climate Model. Cool. Academy of Finland's research program. Link to the original PDF. But above that, you can see the actual patents, and they're just as bad. Fuel system for vapor trail control. That's the patent number. That's where they said commercial aircraft could be used to deliver sulfate in the stratosphere. This is William Cotton, who did Project Storm Fury for NOAA, saying use commuter aircraft with their jet fuels doped with aerosol generators. Also use UAVs and blimps for aerosol dispersal could be considered. Even some industries with tall stacks could have their affluents doped with appropriate aerosols. So like really tall coal factory smokestacks.
So we don't need the sprays, the tanks, and the nozzles, right? We just need to make the fuel dirty with sulfur, and that will accomplish the same thing, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. So here, 2 jet fuels, 1 fuel tank, contrail controlled. And the Appelman thing also doesn't account for what are called ISSRs, or ice supersaturated regions. Here it's drawn as ice supersaturated air, and it shows the locations. So they have this thing called climate optimized routing of flights right now. They want to create clouds by day, none by night. So they're trying to, use artificial intelligence, projection models. There are many different systems for that right now. Google AI teamed up with Boeing recently to predict when contrail formation would occur to steer around ISSRs if they were going to create persistent contrails at night. Because basically they trap heat at night. And this is like the smoking gun one. Control unit and method for controlling the supply of a vehicle with multiple fuels. So 2 different types of fuel. One, a biofuel, ultra-low sulfur jet fuel, is used on takeoff. That way you don't create a lot of black carbon around airports, which kills people. And then when you get up to altitude, then you switch to the high sulfur fuel so that you can geoengineer.
Wow.
And I would say that this isn't a thing, except that's exactly what they said right here. Let me go back up past the patent sections. Right here, impacts of aviation fuel sulfur content on climate and human health, 2015. Applying high fuel sulfur content at aviation cruise altitudes combined with ultra-low sulfur jet fuel aviation biofuel at lower altitudes results in reduced aviation-induced mortality, less dead people around airports, and increased negative RE compared to the baseline aviation scenario. So if you actually look at that, this is from Kapadia et al. 2016, and you can actually go to that. It's still up. It's right there.
What's RE mean?
I want to say it's
radiative effect.
Yeah, okay. No, it's albedo, basically. I hate it when they use RE and not just say albedo. But yeah, it's right there in black and white. Hey, let's use 2 different fuels. This dude's name is Edward Butt. God. The Budge family. Oh, my God. That's just horrible. Wow.
Makes you wonder what the trade was, Like,
he really made an ass out of himself.
That is hilarious. I know they have this aviation fuel goal by 2050. They want to, stump to pump. They're talking about the carbon capture and the, using biomass to make biofuels, which is just another scam as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, HEFA and Fischer-Tropsch, both they're just scams.
Yeah, no, so I guess, the entire system is adversarial. I'm just, the question that I had for Raynette was, in terms of a lawsuit, so if they are manipulating the weather and they're creating drought, and then they flood us with storms, can't, because what I'm watching now is after I learned about cloud seeding over my county, we had FEMA come out here, and then now our county is seeking $34 million in reimbursements from just the last storms from February, March. And that feels like, obviously, it's all of our taxpayer dollars, right? So we pay so much in taxes, and it goes to all of these agencies, DHS, FEMA, everything else. And then they give it back to us in grants, and then clearly people are making their profits and lining their own pockets while the rest of us lose our properties, experience damage, So where I'm thinking that angle would be appropriate, where if people are if their homes are damaged, their property is damaged, and it's clear that the weather modification was happening because there's a contract and you get the details of the contract, I think that would be an option to pursue. I mean, if we did that on a smaller scale, what do you think about that?
So there's this whole, I have a section on the past lawsuits, and it has not gone well. Let's just put it that way. It's on the front page here, and it's just right here under laws for fact sheets. You just click on laws, and it's all the weather modification laws in the United States of America and internationally. But if you scroll way down, not the Kyoto Protocols, right above that, it says court cases. This is from rbs2.weather.com/weather. So I'll just not grab it from archive. You can see I bookmarked everything.
Great.
But this is the actual. I would study this because it literally goes through the court cases.
Okay, that would be, if I have some lawyer friends, it'd be great because
I tried to get this to Renette's to Dina because I was like, you might want to look at the history of this, prior case law and precedent, and try to come up with a better way of doing this, because going the tort liability route, it's very tough, based on what I've read, and really, there's a problem because in any case that you have a jury, people, like, their eyes start to glaze over.
Yeah.
Like, just the stuff that I've talked about, since I got on this call, which I really need to wrap up, it's very, very technical. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What's a quadrillion, for fuck's sake? That's what they're going to... I'm sure somebody's going to be sitting there going, well, what's a quadrillion? What do you mean 10,000 per cubic centimeter? What does that even mean for me? And how can you prove that that's even affecting my health? It's the proving damages.
Yeah.
Is the hardest part of all this. Whether it's somebody cloud seeded in this state and then I had a storm in my state, well, were they actually cloud seeding the storm that actually went over your head? There are no laws that actually make them report it on an hourly basis.
That's true.
The Weather Modification Reporting Act of 1972 only requires they fill out the NOAA forms, and they're very broad.
Yeah.
So the NOAA forms that I've looked at, for like ground-based cloud seeding generators, the ones that I've mapped out, they literally say, October through March. And
and then it's how many days per month? Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't even show you that. So if I go over to the map and I go to geoengineering and weather modification, these are the weather modification reports. So like this is just 2004. And you can see, October through December, and then it'll say January through March. Ruby Mountain Project.
Yep.
3,190 square miles, done by Desert Research Institute, paid for by the state of Nevada.
Yeah.
Purpose, snowpack augmentation.
Yeah.
So these are the government reports, and you can see that, that Make Sunset shit is hilarious. And they'll never get to the 200 megatons. And even David Keith would be like, that's way too much, bro. Are you crazy? But you can see, there's a lot in California. The rain icons are plains. The mountains are obviously ground-based. This is PG&E.
Yeah.
If you're paying your power bill in California, you're to PG&E, you're paying them to cloud seed.
I know that's what's happening. And we're spending our tax dollars for it's the problem reaction solution, and we're getting screwed every time. So we give up the
Yeah.
money every year, and then we get it back in the form of grants. And they're building, I've been fighting this with the surveillance cameras they want to put up with grants from DHS. It's on so many levels we're being screwed. So where do we go from here? I mean, where do you? What I've been saying to friends is you have to get a movement where people stop paying taxes and make it go haywire for a while. I don't know what to do here. This is so beyond frustrating. And I can't seem to stop it from happening over my area, but I'm trying to identify and locate the players that are involved so I can put them on the spot and say, what in the hell are you doing? Because it sounds like they just keep renewing these contracts out here, and they've been doing it for decades. And so now I feel like maybe we're going to try the public pressure approach, where we have your name, it's on this NOAA, form, and here are the dates. Here was I documented the storms. I took the rain samples and the hail sample, and clearly the seeding, in past documents shows that the metals that I'm finding are also consistent with your cloud seeding, right? So that's the angle I'm working here.
Yeah.
And then how many people in our Office of Emergency Services were aware? How much is the Department of Water aware in California? It sounds like they're pretty involved in all of this. So
I mean, the thing is, like, you don't, this is the government report, okay, for Central Colorado Mountain River Basin.
Mm-hmm.
This is the actual number of cloud seeding generators.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
and
insane.
but that's what they're telling you, right? I mean, so what about, because I know that they're on private land. So a lot of the cloud seeders on the ground are.
I mean, I actually got these from, this is from Colorado Water Control Board, state.co.us. So this is their map of where the cloud seeding generators are that I overlaid in Google Earth. And this is the Colorado cloud seeding target areas. So I actually overlaid these in Google Earth and then put them exactly where the dots were.
Oh, great. Do you have that for California?
Yeah.
Okay, I would love. I'll look at that.
But there's not a lot of information on California as far as the ground basins go. And all of this is now available. It's under my weather modification page. If you just go to cloud seeding, you can actually see where all the reports are live now.
Okay.
So let's see, it's right here, government weather modification projects. And I have an Excel spreadsheet that I created, which is in PDF format right here for all of the reports. Wow, damn, that's big.
To keep it, because it's so overwhelming, as you said, people glaze over. I'm trying to keep it hyper local. So I want to look in the region where I live. For me, when I found that agreement between two parties, I thought, well, there we go. There's something. And I saw the map where they were doing the seeding, and I thought, well, that's something. There we go. There's some evidence. And a lot of people are not aware that this is happening over their heads. And
this is where you can get those official government reports, and you can get the ones from this year.
Yes. And there needs to be an interim and final report, and they are missing that. And so that's what I'm.
In most cases, the NOAA Form 17-4A, the interim and final reports are not on here.
Okay.
But what I did,
great,
because I'm kind of a hacker.
Good for you.
I went and did this.
Okay.
So I went and I got all the weather modification projects, and I downloaded everything from their server.
Nice.
So I have every single PDF.
Oh my God. Wow, that's amazing.
This is halfway, but
we'll have to talk then. Oh, I saw that Upper Tuolumne. There is ours. Upper Tuolumne River modification. Oh my God.
Yeah, there, it's right there.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was. Oh, no, this is a different name. Different names on this one. When was this one from? Oh, 2007. Yeah, they've been doing this. Jason Karkeet, same name. The name of the operator is different, but they use different operators, I'm sure. Now we've got Jody Fisher.
Yeah, this one's 2012. This is 2017.
They seeded our skies 11/20/22. Yep, and yeah, that's weather month. There we go. Same group here. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that. Hold on. Oh, yeah, that's why they said they've been doing this for decades. And Weather Modification LLC was the name of the company out of Fargo. And so this is wonderful. They have a project from 2022 through 2023, and we had our storms in February and March, and also last year. So we've got millions upon millions of FEMA reimbursements being requested for this county, while FEMA came out here, camped out in one of our Rockefeller-funded resilience centers, and offered everyone else loans. Right? Like, here's some loans to help you through. This just makes me sick. So I'm going to keep pursuing this, and I can't get a hold of Jason Park.
That sounds very anti-Semitic there, what you just said.
What did I say? What did I say?
He's
I
trolling.
forget what I said. I don't even know what I said. Oh, Jew engineering?
Jew engineering. I love it. Okay, this is actually from. So Weather Modification Incorporated, which was the company you're talking about, actually has Weather Modification International.
That's who they are. Yes, I found that. Doing business as is what it says in the. So they are Weather Modification International.
They changed to that because if you go back to my map, I actually have just specifically their information on a completely separate map, and
thrilled by this.
Let me go to that. So now that's the United Nations tracking. That's the UN's World Meteorological Organization expert team on weather modification has reports as well. And you can see those on this page. So if you go to UN WMO reports, these are the World Meteorological Organization Register of National Weather Modification Projects, 89 through 2006.
But
even the 89 report, it has projects going back to the 50s in the report.
Well, what I observed with another friend too, she's been doing a lot of her own deep diving, but she said they no longer admit all of the complexes, all of the ingredients with for the seeding, and so I'm trying to, again, simplify, narrow it down, get my community members involved and at least aware of the money flow, right? If they're aware that they're modifying our weather and they can extend an emergency or create an emergency, declare emergency, for more powers, more money flow, we really are getting the squeeze on multiple levels. So I'm focusing on that, and I would love to see, I need to go to your website here and...
this is just Weather Modification Incorporated.
Yeah. Yep. And there's many more, I'm sure. That's them. That's all them.
That's just them.
That's just them. Look at that. God.
I mean.
And
they're
God.
doing a lot.
You mean international, right? Weather Modification International.
Yeah. Well, this map is actually from like 2004, and they took it off their website.
Of course they did.
It's just Weather Modification Inc.
So, Jim, I got a question.
Yeah.
So, for the Modesto group, I'm, watching the skies over there to get screenshots of them doing loops. I still haven't gotten it this year, and I'm using, Flight Radar 24. That should catch those guys, right? You don't have to go to ADS, or I'll learn ADS if I need to, or I'll learn what Renette bought, which is the Skyglass.
Yeah, but Skyglass isn't going to have, I don't know. I mean, I have Skyglass. I honestly haven't turned it on yet. It's installed.
Well, Flight Radar 24 does show them, and it gives enough detail, and you get the tracks and all that stuff. All I'm looking for is loops at a certain altitude, which I know what that altitude is because that video that I watched, they look for -5 degrees. But, the Modesto guys, they're seeding on this side of the Sierras with the expectation that it's going to add to Alney watershed. So
exactly.
I think it's going to be offshore seeding. It's going to be at Sonora and to the east to the crest of the Sierras. That's local seeding is going to give a local effect.
Yeah.
I don't think they're seeding offshore. But
if they had brains, that's the way they would do it. But I don't know that they have brains. That map I just showed you was from this page, and after I mirrored it and put it on my map and on my web page, they took it down, but the page is still here. It says explore the map below and to view projects.
I think I tried looking there before. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, it's just blank. But I told Seth, I told you about my archive button.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is it right here. Check archive. So I just click that. It'll put it into here.
Nice.
And then I can go all the way back to, let's say, 2012.
Wow.
And just grab that same page and get rid of their beg button. And you can actually see the map down here. And there was an actual, and it showed all of the clients and projects. You see this?
Yes.
All that's now gone.
Oh,
And there was a Google map here even further back, and I actually like hacked their page and found the KML file and downloaded it, and that's what you're looking at here.
Wow. Wow.
So all of it. Yeah, I mean, I play for keeps. So Illinois. So when you see Illinois weather, it should be on that page. And there it is, Illinois Weather Modification Projects. And what you'll see is the same information, rain enhancement 1977, rain enhancement 1977. So that's where I got the information from.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've been doing this for so long now, it's like everything that I cover, like once it starts getting a bunch of hits and they realize the public's looking at it, poof.
Mm-hmm. That's why we archive. Yes, I've just started archiving thanks to Seth's recommendation.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to do a special. I actually want to have a show with Renette that's just dedicated to archiving, like just archiving 101 and stuff.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah.
I'm real big on saving everything now to just like literally save the pages of print. So like I would actually go and get rid of this, and then just Control P. And then bring it up as a PDF and actually save it as Adobe PDF.
Oh, nice. There we go. Okay.
And that way I save it, and that's my random container. Let me just throw it in here. Desktop.
Yeah.
And then bam. Now I've got it, and I've got the URL. I've got the whole damn page.
Wow. Great.
But that's another great way to do it. I mean, keep it local.
Yep.
You don't have to ever worry about the websites deleting or somebody asking you to, that's what Rosalind Peterson did. And that's what I loved about her. Like everything on her Agriculture Defense Coalition website, everything page it wasn't a link to the page. It was a link to a PDF you could download from her page.
Great.
That was doing it right.
Great. I need help with staying organized. I document everything, but I don't label it, and then my storage gets full, and I run into issues, and I just feel like I'm running a million miles a minute, and I'm just hoping we get more people observing and documenting and trying to connect the dots.
So the biggest problem I have is that people don't want to look at all of the things. They just want like a simple answer, and they want to blame it all on the planes. And then they say, well, Delta Airlines is spraying us like dogs. And I'm like, but that doesn't account for sounding rockets and HARP and, like ionospheric heaters, plus cloud seeding projects, plus military implications of carbon black versus what you're actually seeing coming out of a Delta Airlines plane, which is black carbon, and you don't even know the difference between the two. So how could you ever really get to the truth? You're just going to be shot down if you ever take it to court. You got to try to talk to the representative. Like being able to like put all this stuff where it belongs is probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
Where
is Dina on this? Has Dina been receptive to what you have to share? I mean, what?
Oh, she cross-examined me like I was on the fucking stand when we had our hour-and-a-half long meeting. Okay. And I don't know. I mean, clearly it had an impact because they realized that they were wrong AF and that in, trusting just what Dane was saying, and they were able to verify. When I told Dina about the 1970 lawsuit, and I said, like turn around, go to your Westlaw terminal and type this in. She was like, wait a minute, what's your background? Are you a lawyer or something? I'm like, no, I'm just a nerd, and I know that Westlaw is a thing, and you can look up cases if you're a lawyer. And so anyway, after it was all said and done, they realized, yeah, I mean, everything I'm saying checks out. And trying to sue those people, you're talking millions of dollars and decades. That's the problem.
Jim, like you've been around the scene for a while, right? Over a decade or more.
Yeah.
And one of the things Kat and I've noticed in the group is that there's a very small percentage of people that actually want to take action.
Wait a minute, is this the cat that kicked me out of the group?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just realized.
No, listen. I appreciate
Group hug.
I know. Thank you. Listen, I appreciate your style when you drop F-bombs like I do, and you're really just to the point. And I'm eating my own. I had a night. I had a moment. Okay.
I'm all good with it. I'm sending you guys a picture right now. Can y'all download that from there?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's good resolution.
I'm just seeing photos.
Well,
it's in chat.
I mean, but so one of the things we noticed is there's a small percentage of people that actually want to lift a finger and do something and get involved and take a rain sample and here's an action item and here's something to do and like, hey, here's a webinar that Jeff is putting on, a meteorologist. Like, we've got 370 people in this group and a grand total like 4 or 5 people expressed interest in what turned out to be a great, very informative, and we're still on the call, right? You're like the surprise guest.
I'm mad that I didn't get to catch the first part because now me and Jeff are going to have to do a one-on-one.
Well, no, Jeff. I mean, when Jeff and I talked about it, we're like, hey, let's just let it rip, and maybe we'll keep it small, and maybe we'll do this again or something. So I don't see. I mean, if Jeff is willing, that we couldn't run through this again. I mean, I learned a lot. Now I'm very excited that I can go to these sites and dig up the data and actually go out and verify. I mean, you mentioned those issues with the Appleman graph, right? But roughly.
It's still 99. It's still 90% accurate. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean,
I guess what
the math is the math. It's
what I'm driving at is this unwillingness to, because one of the things that I saw when Jeff started posting in our chat was like, he's speaking a lexicon and a language that's a specialized knowledge, and to a lot of us it's not really comprehensible. It's kind of illegible. It's like, and that's why I suggested the webinar. I was like, hey, can we sit down? You can kind of give us a meteorologist 101 so we can really understand what you're talking about with these numbers and data and charts, which are just if we haven't been equipped with the skills to interpret it, they're not really of much use to us, right? And I also noticed like there's just, and I've been in the situation before where there's a lot of people, you mentioned people's eyes glazing over and getting technical and all that, and vast majority of people I encounter just aren't interested in doing the work to educate themselves to become fluent in these topics from a technical side. And so I appreciated that Jeff was bringing that to the table, and I felt like his comments were not, his input wasn't properly valued just because people had not, and apparently a lot of people just are not that excited about putting any effort in towards really learning this stuff. And I find it's helpful for me because I want to be able, like you said, like if you can't become familiar with the terminology at the very basic and try to understand the stuff, when you go up against these guys and these scientists, you're going to get mocked and ridiculed, and your credibility will be destroyed, and it's totally counterproductive,
Yeah. It's a black belt versus a kindergartner.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've appreciated about your approach is you actually go and you tangle with these guys and you do the interviews, and I think it's kind of helped refine your views and understanding of what's going on as well. Because in my opinion, that one of the best ways to do that in a sort of adversarial environment. I mean, that's what the American justice system is based on, right? It's adversarial.
Yeah, the best way to learn is to start some shit with somebody who totally disagrees with you.
Yeah, amen. And I sort of get energized by the fight and stuff like that, and so I think it's good, and I think a lot of times, like even conflicts I've had with friends and things like that have yielded new insights and new information. As long you don't have to, personally attack people, but we've had disagreements, and it's driven me many times to a higher or next level of understanding. But I guess I wanted to get your take, like over the years with you interacting with people, how you've dealt with her. Is this a phenomenon you've seen where a lot of people just are content with their kind of like conspiracy 101 crude understanding, and they are very unwilling to dig any deeper? Because that's sort of what that's what I'm experiencing. after re-engaging with this, since Kat kind of got the ball rolling and Nikki Florio did the presentation down here. This all happened within like the last, 8 months? I mean, when were you guys down in San Diego, Kat? I don't know.
I think about March because I was watching the weather and it was we had weird hail and snow and just crazy. I didn't understand all the basics, but my senses, my eyes told me that something was not, it was atypical. It just struck me as like, this person, So that sometimes we don't need to be the experts like the Jeff, because actually I do glaze over with Jeff's graphs and dew points. It's just really a challenge for me to wrap my mind around it, and I'm trying, but I still am not fluent in what he understands. And part of me is trying to figure out where do we drill down? Where do we really need to focus? Like what should we be looking at instead of being distracted by all the things? Like should we? My thought was, first step, just be an observer of the world around you. And then start to notice patterns. That is as simple as it gets for me, because most people come and go to work, they watch their crappy entertainment, they go to sleep, they get up and do it all over again, and people are not looking around. So my purpose of the channel was just to say, I'm seeing this crap, are you? And I don't even know what to do or where to start about this. But I'm sick of it. I feel like I moved out to the mountains, I started a garden, I'm trying to get away from the system in the ways that I can, and then I'm watching my skies get muted. My beautiful sunny skies just get slaughtered. So that's what motivated me to start that channel. And so I'm trying to think, like, what's most important to focus on? Do we need to quibble over whether it's a contrail or a chemtrail? Because this is so much bigger than that. So where do you suggest we focus? Where do we go from here?
Are you asking me or Jeff?
I'm asking
or Jim.
Both of you. All of you. Oh no, all of you.
I have a solution. I mean, this is my purpose.
There we go.
That I don't believe bitching about a thing and not having a solution is productive.
Yeah.
So my proposal is to take the Environmental Modification Convention, the Weather Warfare Ban of 1978, give it some teeth, make a worldwide requirement before you modify the weather that you give a 48-hour notice live on a website, an International Registry of Atmospheric Experimentation, so that if somebody actually screws with the weather, that they have to give an hourly update. Not just this, here's a sheet of paper and I'm, Andrew Song from Makes Sunsets and I'm just going to write 200 years on it. It's a fucking joke at this point. We're in the information age. We should update these laws. And the reason we should update them is, and I got a video interview. A guy came to my house, and I've never let anybody in my house. I let one guy in my house. He's a good friend, and he came to my house and interviewed me about this. But this one also has a PowerPoint presentation. You can check it out yourself. I'm going to not only make, a weather warfare ban for the United Nations and try to get it passed there, but I want to make a national and a state version of the same law and the accompanying sensors to go with it. So the whole purpose is to really, show what the problem is, how we get to it, transparency and verification. Because at the end of the day, the weather warfare ban does not have a way to actually catch anybody doing weather warfare. And the same was true with the limited test ban treaty. Why not ban weather modification altogether? Well, bans don't work. They ban nukes, but North Korea still shoots them off.
Yeah.
So I go through all of the different reasons why I came to this conclusion after 10 years. I used to call it the clarity clause. So if you read any of my old articles, you'll see that. And I changed it to the Environmental Modification Accountability Act. Because I thought it was more clear what it meant. But the trust but verify part is the most important part. And it's the idea that we, have a sensor network to actually catch people. Rainfall samples, all sky cameras, the things. To detect all the things, using IoT. I'm sure Seth is loving this part. But the idea is, real-time streaming data, collecting, information from a citizen-powered network of climate viewers in your backyard, and have a secondary network that's run by the government, who we don't trust, but they got more expensive, better equipment than us. At least we would have a redundant, system to catch people. And
let me interrupt, Rose. This is real important because when Fukushima happened and
they cut RadNet off,
they turned it off. Yeah, they turned the crap off.
That's why we
got to have the
two-sensor network idea.
Exactly.
You gotta have redundancy because you can't trust the government. If they have a weather warfare network, detection network, and they're going to do weather warfare, they'll just shut the fucking thing off. So I don't trust those people.
Yeah.
So my solution was, all right, well, I want to put radiation detection in my climate viewer as well. And the climate viewer I want to build for the backyard is kind of like a plug-and-play system. So the most basic model would just be rainfall sample and basic, meteorology stuff. And then like Nintendo cartridges, you could lift the lid on the thing, and then you could put in ultrafine particles / nanoparticle monitoring like the Aerosol Robotic Network. You could put in radiation detection. You could put in WebSDR with ELF, ULF, VLF. You could put in ionization, anemometers, are basically like wind detectors. I met a person who made a no moving part anemometer that uses magnets when I went to the WeatherMod conference in 2018. So all of these, ideas of building a sensor network to catch bad guys, I summed it up really great right here. Require notice, registry, catch bad guys, sensors, no fear. That's you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the solution.
So that's funny because my what I was doing was trying to get people to document and look for patterns, look up the aircraft. So I started really from scratch, not knowing even where to begin to tackle this. And what you've done here is essentially what I think ultimately I was hoping for was that people would start documenting, taking rain samples, and you've gone beyond. I realize now that my channel should just be, the Jim Lee support group for California. I want to ask you, because you've been doing this for so long, and a lot of the things you've talked about I've discovered on my own while doing my own obsessive deep dives. And so, but then you're far beyond. So it's nice to see this.
I would have really liked it if you'd have took me up on my offer to come on my YouTube channel, because that would have been pretty epic if I would have.
I never got that offer. Where was the offer?
I've got a screenshot of it. Like I sent it here.
You're not on the. Well, okay.
You deleted all of us posts, Kat.
Yeah, I know. Listen.
Look, I got a screenshot. Don't worry. I
talked to Seth about it and Jeff about it. I think I just reached a moment of I felt like there was a gang up happening. I've said it to you already. I said the eye bothered me because I've been learning about symbolism for the last few years, simply because my son is watching things that I'm noticing that things are
Let me
off.
explain the eye, okay?
No.
It's called surveillance. It's the idea of, it's called underveillance.
Watching the watchers. Yeah.
Watching the watchers. It's climate viewer. I cover pollution, privacy, and propaganda. So obviously I'm watching the sons of bitches who are ruining our climate. Yeah. I mean, the logo literally says tracking the climate changes at the top of the page. Let me see where I sent this to Jeff.
I wanted to say this again. I really appreciate you and just listening to you and having a conversation. You're speaking my language, and I apologize. I think I'm beside myself with how little people are willing to do. And then I felt like, are these two trying to detract from documenting, and they're telling us that what we're seeing is not real? And so I had a moment. So, all right.
So you're saying you don't remember this?
Don't post it to the group. I do. I'm sorry. Let's do it.
You should call me. If you're so sure of yourself, I'll give you a mic and you can go live on my YouTube channel. You said, let's do it, Snoop.
Okay. This is fantastic. Okay. I'm juggling so many projects right now. I was maxed, and I thought, these two guys are just going to town here. So, okay. I would love to revisit that if you're interested down the road. And I'm just
you did say I had a real wake-up call last night. Symbolism. I keep screenshots of everything. Okay, it's just it's
so
a
do
habit. It's
good
a habit.
for you. It's good. I just need to organize my screenshots.
I sent it to Jeff like right after it happened. I was like, pretty sure we got kicked.
Yeah. Well,
but
I had a few days
bet
after
with
I
Jeff
pulled
that
off.
I was the one. I said Jeff's like, I'm the asshole, and I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm the asshole because like you'll see, like when I get in the group, it'll just eventually happen organically, and I'll probably piss a lot of people off. It happens inevitably.
And
I
do come back around. People do. Well, at least I'd like to say I do come back around. I'm still on this call today, even though I was like, I just don't have the time for this. I made the time. I'm really glad that you also jumped on because you just. You really know your stuff. And I've been just looking for where do we focus? Where do we go from here? So, yeah, I much appreciated.
If you really want to learn the art of, like, battling these people, like, I mean, I'm blowing myself up here, but Mick West is literally the top debunker on the planet of chemtrails. And we've debated on his Metabunk and Contrail Science website for 10 years. Yeah. And when I went to the EPA in 2015, I sent them my transcript of what I was going to say on C-SPAN before I went. So I literally threw myself to the wolves and was like, come at me, bro.
Yes.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And they could not. And I did the same thing with these gang stalkers on Facebook called Chemtrails Are Killing Us. They literally like hijack chemtrail groups. They, get in, they become mods, and they kick everybody out and make a mockery of everybody. And
well, I had a lot of people saying that to me, like, we're not sure who's infiltrating here. And I've become very skeptical of everybody. I've had people that I've, fought alongside with against certain things in the past, mandates, whatever, that they're not who I thought they were. And so I've become a highly skeptical, not yet a hermit, but more and more like preferring my own company and my cat and chickens company. So I'm questioning everybody. So I feel like listening to you and getting into your flow and having this back and forth, I have a better sense of you. So.
Well, I debated him, and then this is the other debate. This is with the Kaku guy. But if you want to hear, like me being adversarial as fuck, it doesn't get any better than these two. Like Mick West, he's cultured, he's British, he's been on National Geographic, the History Channel. Like anytime they do a documentary on chemtrails, he's the guy they go to debunk it. And I had he finally agreed to a debate, and I won it so lopsidedly because I made the entire debate about semantics. Mm. And he didn't see it coming. He didn't know what to think of it because I basically said, chemtrail, contrail, what does it fucking matter? They both turn into cirrus clouds, and he just lost his mind. Mm-hmm. Oh, that Echoplex Media was actually after the David Litton. David Litton is Echo. What the hell? Is that my link? No, Seth posted that. Yeah. So I debated David Litton. This was 6 years ago, and he had been butthurt ever since because he was from the gang stalking group and admitted to like hijacking other Facebook groups. And finally, he, for like years begged me to come on his show, and I just finally one night, my wife wasn't here, so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And went on there, and I went after the going on there, I went back and I watched his Twitch chat, and I won over his fans. Like they were going, you know what? Maybe Jim Lee isn't so bad after all. And I know that he was actually seeing that while we were live, and it had to be driving him batshit crazy. I've not heard a peep out of him since that second debate, if you want to call it that. But
I listened to that one when I first discovered your stuff. I started binge listening to all your podcast appearances, and that one I was pretty impressed with how you handled yourself. I mean, you definitely hold your own against these guys, which is not easy to do. So that was
I love fight. I mean, I love physically fighting. Like I've always been a fighter, and for a debate, literally is like a mental fight. So and we're not even in the same room. So at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that could happen? I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, then that means that it's my job to make sure I make it right, because if I believe what the person is saying and they can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt in my mind that I was wrong, I will literally go delete shit as fast as I can from my website and make it right, because I don't want to be wrong that bad. So, I mean, it's a win-win for me. Whether I lose or I win, I'm still going to, it's better to engage with people you disagree with than, this whole shut people down, not have a conversation.
Yeah, I agree. But I like, there's not a lot of people that will go engage with the enemy, so to speak, which is another thing that I appreciate about your work, is like you'll just go right in the lion's den and hold your own with these people. And we need more people that are.
That's why Dane Wigington is terrified of me.
Yeah.
Like, he is literally terrified of me. He will ban, if you mention any of my websites on any of his things, he will ban you immediately and delete the comment. Because he does not want people finding out about me. And I mean, hey, to each his own, but I'm still going to call him a bitch every time I get the opportunity in public. And, people are like, why don't you, you and Dane work together? I'm like, go watch one of the videos. We used to call him Voldemort, Like, it just, he doesn't understand what he's talking about. And if we did have a debate, we did have a debate a long time ago. But the guy who came to my house that recorded me for the NMOD thing, his name is John, he was the moderator of that debate and deleted the recording of it afterwards. No, that was actually John Massari and not John N. I'm not going to say his name. John Massari actually moderated it, and then afterwards, I think that Dane threatened him with a lawsuit. But he deleted the recording of it because it was that bad.
Wow.
And it was actually Dane and Russ Tanner versus me, because Russ Tanner was actually there during the debate. And after Dane finally threw his gloves in the air and ran and hung up the phone, then Russ Tanner spoke for the first time. And I'm like, oh, Russ, you're the guy who could smell chemtrails. Shut up. You're dumb. You're like real dumb, like big dumb. And it went so bad for both of them. And there will never be another one, because they know.
I think the hardest thing for me, Seth said this, and I'm going to quote him, drinking from the fire hose for the last almost 4 years now, longer actually. And the hardest thing is these people who've given you so much truth, right? Who've helped you realize, okay, maybe I'm not crazy for seeing this and questioning it. So, and only in the last, I would say, year or 6 months have I started to question Dane Wigington, because of what, I was observing and talks with Raynette, and just wondering, like, well, what has he done? Where has his litigation really gone? And he's, so that's the hardest thing, is that it's hard to throw these folks under the bus, because they've been the ones who have helped us see for so long. But now I realize, the fact that you've been doing this for so long, and it was not until Raynette had you on her show, and I questioned, I think that's right why Raynette asked you, because I was learning about the symbolism, but I said, what's the I? What's the big I? And so I think that's why there's a general distrust in, like, who's telling the truth. What do we really do? Where do we go? And
I understand that totally. I mean, that's normal. Like, if you're not critical and you don't ask questions, I tell people on my own damn YouTube channel, I'm like, don't trust me.
Do your own research.
Don't trust me, because I could be wrong. And God forbid I am wrong. And I also challenge everybody who goes on, there. I say, look, if you see something on my website or something I've said and it's wrong, please fucking tell me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, please bring it up as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. Get it to me, because I'd like to know.
Yeah. I have one last question. I know we've been on this call for over 4 hours, but just to wrap it up, since Jeff is recording, the other thing that's spinning around out there is the whole HAARP thing. So some would say HARP is controlling this, U.S. Air Force, and it's another military installment, and that's how weather's being moved. And then also I think it's called NEXRAD. I've not dived into this yet, but just in a nutshell, can you just say, what is there any relevance to that? Because my husband will toss me off like, oh, HARP's nothing. But I mean, what is the relevance of HARP? What are your thoughts? HARP or NEXRAD or shifting or moving weather? What do you?
I believe it's junk science, and it's the same thing that has always happened throughout the history of weather control. People making big claims that cannot do the things they say they can do because people are gullible enough to buy it.
Mm-hmm. I'm exploring all of it. I feel like clean slate.
I was approached by a company called Climate Control Global Trading LLC. They're based in the United Arab Emirates, and they claim to be able to steer atmospheric rivers, to steer hurricanes, and dust storms using electromagnetic radiation. We actually got into some high-level talks, and I was talking. At first, it was a PR guy that reached out to me. Then I had a Zoom call or a Skype call with the PR guy and the CEO, and I told him, I was like, look, I don't believe. I don't know if you guys caught this, but I'm kind of anti-geoengineering and weather control. So, it's interesting that you're asking me to sell your product, but I'm willing to do it if you can, let me talk to your tech guy and prove that it's a real thing. Because in my mind, I have never in my life, not one single peer-reviewed journal entry ever, seen anything linking electromagnetic radiation to weather control with efficacy. So I was like, all right, let's go. And they were like, sure, we'll have a meeting. So, of course, the guy's Russian. Of course he's Russian, because if you look at cloud ionization and where it all originated, it is Tesla technology. The Russians far exceeded the Americans on ionospheric heater technology, over the horizon radar, and then obviously cloud ionization, and then into the whole Russian woodpecker making the standing wave troughs over the Rocky Mountains, and all of the claims that Thomas Bearden made and all that stuff. So I talked to the Russian guy. I said, fine, I'm going to ask you 10 questions, and all I want to do is you show me the money. Show me that it works. I want to know how the technology works, because this is their top secret. I said, show me a photo of the array. I've already signed a non-disclosure agreement with you. So show me the array, show me that it works, and if this is true, I will sell this product, because you're not poisoning people with chemicals to modify weather. You say you have good intentions, you want to have controls, and you're doing this to save people's lives, i.e., you say you can steer a hurricane and keep it from, making landfall. Prove it. And if it's true, I'll sell it. And, of course, that was the last time we ever spoke. David Miles from Miles Research, same thing. He formally acquiesced, said he could steer atmospheric rivers using electromagnetic radiation. I interviewed him. It's on climateviewer.com. And, I consider David a friend. But at the same time, David knows that, if he's going to tell me that he can steer sky rivers with electromagnetic waves, link right there, you can actually watch the interview with him.
Okay. Thank you. If
you can steer the atmospheric rivers, then, show me the technology. He wanted to partner with me as well. He saw Climate Viewer 3D. He wanted to make accurate predictions about where to do weather moderation, as he put it, not modification, moderation, to, calm down severe weather. And I was like, sure, I'm all ears, buddy. I like money. That would be great. I live in a double wide trailer. I work as a security guard, I make websites, and I have my YouTube channel, and we still broke. So if you're telling me you can pay me money to do this, then let's work together. But first you got to, prove to me that this is a thing, that I'm not working with a snake oil salesman. That never happened. Again. And in the case of like Nexrad and HAARP, HAARP can't control the weather. Even Bernard Eastland, Ben, friends and stuff, he's dead. Anyway, Bernard Eastland, who designed the ARCO patents that led to the creation of HAARP, in his ARCO patents for controlling weather modification, he specifically said that the array would have to be 100 times the size of HAARP and would have to be 100 billion watts to even have a chance of affecting weather. HAARP is only 3.6 million watts. I have observed HAARP while on in infrared, invisible, and every other spectrum available. I have never seen one cloud change directions or anything. Therefore, that's not a thing.
That's an interesting take, because I would have thought electromagnetic radiation would have some sort of impact. It didn't seem like a stretch for me.
The resonant frequency of water is about 65 gigahertz. At 65 gigahertz, the amount of power it would take to overcome incoming solar radiation, which is what Jeff, remind me, is 344 million watts per square meter, something like that. Do you remember?
Yeah, 350 was the number I saw, but I've seen numbers like 500 and really looking at the UV meters and stuff like that, I've seen 500 for incoming watts per square meter.
So 500 watts per square meter, we're talking, outrageously massive. We're talking multiple nuclear bombs per second, okay? When you consider the size of the Earth.
Okay.
And 3.6 million watts, even when you consider the effective radiated power of HAARP at 5 billion watts, which is ERP, which is basically power output plus dB gain equals ERP. And I'm not a radio guy, but I basically understand it. Even at 5 billion watts, it's still just, it's like a cup of water versus the ocean.
It's interesting. Then I would wonder, because you said your friend worked for HAARP. Then what was the purpose of building this station? What is it intended to do? Just modify the ionosphere just above it? Then you would wonder why all the money and
Well, I have all the documents on why it was created on my weather modification timeline.
Okay. Good. I'll look there.
Yeah. If you go to here, I'll just link it to you real quick.
There was a book I was looking through. It was The Angels Don't Play This HAARP. And it was just, it takes a lot of time with other things, but
Nick Begich didn't have a full grasp of what was, even how the idea that heating the ionosphere then lifts all of the layers underneath is a flawed idea. Just in and of itself, it's like it's a rudimentary understanding of things, and it kind of over exaggerates the power of HAARP as it pertains to magnetic field lines. Yes, VLF and ELF is used for looking for underground structures, but HAARP being on a magnetic field line, aka the Van Allen belt, and tuning, and I actually got into this with Jeff and Seth the other day. I was explaining what polar electric jet heating versus ionospheric current drive, and the different methods that HAARP uses to create ultra low frequency versus extremely low frequency from high frequency. He had a very rudimentary understanding of it, and that's why things got so blown out of proportion. And I did a PowerPoint presentation on that as well, and you can see that on this page if you want. I've got a PowerPoint presentation for the 4 main categories where
I would love to look into that. If there's anything that I have learned to be true, is that it appears to be a very well oiled machine of collaboration, lies, running through scenarios in advance. So I'm quick to distrust government, and I am more likely to lean toward all of the possibilities. So I'm open to anything at this point. I feel like everything I've ever believed to be true should be, put aside, and I start learning from square one. So I'm very receptive. I'd be receptive to that. I'd love to see what you have to say about it.
That's why, like, I literally on my chemtrail page, Serious Clouds Matter, I got the Edgar Allan Poe quote because I live by it. Believe, none of what you hear and half of what you see. I'm a Generation Xer, and I generally distrust authority. I don't trust the government at all. I don't trust anybody who has a scientific background because they generally are bullshitters. I mean, look at CO2. God, don't even get me started on climate change.
Yeah, no, I know.
So I don't trust any of these fucking people, as far as I can throw them. But I'll read what they have to say, and I was talking to Seth and Jeff about this the other day about slave speak and understanding how words are used to manipulate people. And once you understand what words are used to manipulate people and you see somebody using those words, then you can have the assumption that they're trying to manipulate you. They are lying to you to control you. And if I'm reading something and I see a whole lot of high-level descriptors, I want to turn that into low-level descriptors so that it's easy for me to explain to other people. So if you do not understand a thing well enough, you cannot explain it simply enough. So I try to go and understand the thing well enough to explain it simply enough, but keeping in mind that I could have been lied to. So I check hundreds and hundreds of sources, and I always check new sources as they appear, and they always end up contradicting things that I've heard in the past. But generally, I see the same, flow that tells me, yeah, you're still in the right spot. I mean, nothing much has changed. NEXRAD radars cannot control the weather. Okay? It's just not friggin' possible. 750,000 watt pulsed over X amount of time, 360 degrees turning. It's not an ionospheric heater. It's not pointed up. It's pointed out. 45-degree angle max. It's got 3 basic modes to it. Atmospheric bloom at night that everybody says is weather control is caused by condensation, and there's clear air mode, and there's precipitation mode, and there's test mode and pencil mode. And I've read the entire WSR-88D handbook, and people will still argue with me and go, motherfucker lies about NEXRAD, so he's got to be a shill. And I'm just like shaking my damn head. So it just, I could get really fucking popular and be rich. With as much as I know about this, I could be the best Alex Jones bullshitter ever. But I refuse to do it because I would lose all the credibility that I've gained with the scientists and the people who actually control the weather to actually do interviews with me, or the fact that David Keith and Ken Caldera, geoengineering assholes that they are, both agreed that they would sign my NMOD AA solution.
Really? I'm just going to put it out there. I have no respect for these tools, these people taking the blood money. And I have to say, the insignia of the Navy and the military and the Army, it's dark and it's ugly. They're still taking the money, and they're still, I don't know what to say. I no respect for those men.
Me either, but I mean, at the same time, Dr. James Roger Fleming, he wrote the book, Fixing the Sky, the Checkered History of Weather and Climate Modification. I met him at the, the Weather Mod conference in 2018. And when I interviewed him, the hell, bro. I mean, it's right there. And then he goes straight into the Limited Test Ban Treaty and how what I'm doing with NMOD AA is just like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the reason why I did what I was doing. But yeah, I interviewed all the people that control the weather at that conference. They have it every 2 years. In fact, the next conference is coming up January or February. The next WeatherMod conference, if you want to go.
Actually, or yeah, can you listen online too? It might be better to go. Yeah.
I mean, you can pay for it, and do that. But I emailed David Keith and Ken Caldera, and they both wrote me back and were like, most sensor networks are already have public access. Happy to lobby for more public access. Yours, David. Via email. And I still have the original emails.
With DARPA and the CRISPR technology and all the ways that they're altering living things, right? Modifying living plants and animals and insects. It's hard not to believe that they are somehow concealing something or lying to us or misrepresenting the harms of their. I remain undecided about HAARP still, but I will be interested in hearing and seeing your links, and also because NextRad was just introduced to me. I have never looked into that very deeply, so I still am not sold. And as you said, don't just take my word for it. Do your own research. It's just so complex.
Yeah, there are stations that are used to heat the atmosphere, but I don't believe it's HAARP, Jim. Right? What do they call them? They're
Is that NextRad? That's what I was thinking.
No, ionospheric heater.
Yeah, but is there? Do you have that on your climate viewer map? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's not called HAARP, what is it called again?
There are multiple ionospheric heaters worldwide. Then there's incoherent scatter radars, which are essentially, they're very similar, but they don't actually do the heating. They can do heating. Missile defense radars, which are in some cases much more powerful than HAARP, they can do the exact same thing that HAARP can. So, it's really splitting hairs. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is missile defense radars.
Yeah, but I mean, Kat, I think it's important for Kat to understand, just because HAARP may not necessarily be used to heat the atmosphere, doesn't mean they don't have other facilities with different names that do that.
HAARP is used to heat the ionosphere. HAARP is an ionospheric heater. And the antenna array isn't even HAARP. It's actually called the IRI. So HAARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, which is, okay.
The program.
I'll show you. Hold on.
Well, I'm confused now because I thought you were just saying that HAARP is not used to heat the atmosphere.
No, I'm saying it can't control the weather.
Okay.
There's a difference. The difference is big. But this is HAARP. Okay? All of this is HAARP. This is the IRI.
Okay.
So most people think this is HAARP.
Mm-hmm.
Just the antenna array, okay?
Yes.
And the antenna array is called the Ionospheric Research Instrument.
Okay.
HAARP is actually all this stuff, like the MUIR, Modular UHF Ionospheric Radar, the Diagnostic Instrument Pad 1, the VHF Ionospheric Radar here, the DigiSonde up here, so DPS-4, the Aircraft Alert Radar that says, get the fuck out of the way, we're about to burn a hole in the sky. Up here they've got the instrument pad where they have, optical sensors. They got LiDAR. This is a ryometer right here. You can see it right here. Big image of that. That's the imaging ryometer, the classic 30 hertz, megahertz ryometer, induction magnetometers over there, optical domes, lasers, and all that. So all of that together, that is HAARP.
That is, you've done your research. I will give you that. My God,
And I mean, when I put this map together, this was blurred out. This wasn't even here. You could see right about here. You could see the bottom corner of the IRI. The rest was blurred out completely. But now I've got really sharp imagery. Like this is Bing. When I switched to it, it's super sharp, and you can actually see, the lines where the DigiSondes actually cut through the trees. But that's where I see the plus here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can roughly see it. But
I think it's just my general distrust of the military-industrial complex. I think I
can't blame you there.
Yeah.
That's new. That wasn't there before.
And what is that again? That's a
There's another instrument here that I don't know what that is. I'll have to ask Chris. But that's new. That wasn't there the last time I looked. That's new.
Yeah, I have a lot.
I switched to Bing, and now it's like I'm seeing new things going, huh?
Yeah. When was this last updated? Is this Google Earth?
This is Bing right now that I'm looking at.
Oh, Bing. Okay.
Yeah, because they have it open source. They got new things up here too. But yeah, and this is also another radio sign. It's an older school radio sign. But yeah, there are many different ionospheric heaters worldwide, and HAARP's just one of them.
Okay.
But none of them are powerful enough to change, alter the freaking weather. Period. But that being said, there is one, and it ain't in Alaska. It's over here in Norway. And Bernard Eastlund basically said that you would need 100 billion watts to control the weather. So this is IceCat, the Tromso ionospheric heater. 144 cross dipoles of one array, another 36 and a 36. They actually have 3 arrays, and you can see that in this photo here. I did like an overlay. They're actually upgrading it right now to 100 billion watts.
Wow.
And it's called IceCat 3D.
Okay.
So for the first time ever, there will be an array that will be very large, and it will be in the range that Bernard Eastlund said could alter the jet stream. That's the goal. And I don't know what the status of IceCat 3D is right now, but it would be the only one in the world with enough power to potentially alter weather.
Yeah. I feel like I'm open to the possibility that that if that's what they're telling us now, that it's possible they've been doing the experiments for quite a while without telling us. So now maybe it's just becoming more, unavoidable.
But
there's a lot more than I thought.
If you look at this map, the red dots are the ionospheric heaters.
Yep.
All the blue ones are ISRs. And technically, I put this as one, but it isn't one. It's a middle and upper atmospheric radar. It's an MU radar.
They're all close.
But it looks so damn cool that I couldn't help it. I mean, the shit looks like something out of Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
well, and they're close to water, aren't they? Aren't they all close to a body of water? And so we were back to the earlier conversations about doing things over the coast, maybe to impact. Clouds,
but I mean, these are Yagi antennas. They're literally 8 foot tall. They don't. It doesn't have the power. It doesn't have the frequency that would be necessary. I mean, it's just nothing adds up. It's 1 million watts at 46 megahertz. It's not in the gigahertz range. It wouldn't affect the resonant frequency of water. Therefore, it couldn't control the molecules. It doesn't have the power. It doesn't have any of the things. These are Yagi antennas as well, but I mean, look at this picture. The whole field is glowing green while it's on. But that's what a Yagi antenna looks like. Kind of looks like your old antenna that would be on your television. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not convinced at this point that either NEXRAD or any of these ionospheric heaters can control the weather. They do create artificial air glow. They do create artificial aurora. They create ELF waves that fuck with your brain. But weather,
that's good to know. So maybe they fuck with your brain. I know that's on DARPA's list of the next frontier are the brain. So I don't doubt that there's So maybe not weather, but maybe some other manipulation of some form.
That's why that's why I was saying go to the page and look for yourself, and there's an essential read. I got another PowerPoint presentation that goes through everything about HAARP and what it can and can't do. But right here, I literally have HAARP, ELF generation, and mass mind control. And that's where I'm at with it.
Oh, I see. I'm with you there. Then I mean that makes it's not benign, is what I'm trying to say. That's where what I feel in my gut is that it's not benign. It's never benign with the military industrial complex. So that's where I would probably be. So this is helpful. So it's not maybe weather, but for other purposes that have to do with control and manipulation. Then I can take that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they always they get you to argue about one thing and they're actually doing another. It's like with the chemtrail thing. They want you to talk about Morgellons, nanobots, and mind control, and not about plane farts, soot, metals, cancer, all of the things that could come from these. And if you look up health effects of graphene, health effects of black carbon, health effects of nanoparticles of aluminum. I don't have to preach to the choir on this. Mm-hmm. We all know these things are poisonous.
Is it possible that these things are being dispersed in the air? Because you talked about the jet fuel changing, but is it possible that these metals within our bodies could then somehow, I don't have the language for this, but with frequencies or interact with electromagnetic radiation, whatever? I mean, is there any possibility there? So because I'm open to it. I don't have the answers. I'm curious.
Basically, your skin has an ohms rating, so it has a resistance rating, and we are mostly water, and we're generally pretty resistant to electromagnetic radiation, except for your nervous system, which is basically a large radio antenna, and your DNA is a fractal antenna at the smallest form. So we are biomechanical electrical.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, I mean, hell, I got an entire page just devoted to that topic alone.
Okay, yes, and the link there too.
Of course I do, and I call it Why Fried.
Jeff, will you save the chat? Because I have not been able. I've been on my phone. I'd like to have all these links later on if you're able to do that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Seth, you know how to save the chat? Okay.
I don't know about the chat. This is the first time I've used this software, but I've got the recording.
Okay.
It's really easy. It's climateviewer.com/EMF.
Okay.
Like electromagnetic frequencies, but about how EMF effects health. Okay. So at the end of the day, I think that people should be more scared of NEXRAD. If you live on the 5th floor of a hotel room, and there's a 750,000 watt beam that's swinging past your house every 30 seconds, I'd be much more concerned about that than that NEXRAD.
What would that be? What's that beam? Are you referring to something? Am I missing something?
To the NEXRAD beam.
Oh, okay.
To the Doppler radar. The Doppler radar, because it has a certain elevation, that it's horizontally shooting a radar beam out that's pulsed energy.
Oh, God. Okay.
And if you live in a high-story, apartment, you can actually look at what they call the radar occlusions, and you can tell, if you're getting fucked up by these or not, just by looking at that. 4,000 feet. Let me see real quick if I can find it. So, or even if it still works, because does it still work?
Jim, you can find radar occlusion maps?
Yeah, I have that.
Is it an app or is it just a website?
I got them from, this is ArcGIS, NOAA.gov, map server, radar coverage, and you can actually see where the radar coverage drops, and it's still there. Yeah.
Can you link it in the chat, please?
Wait, I'm not seeing the screen here. Are you looking at the screen?
Yeah, I didn't share the screen.
Okay.
But you can see right here, 3,000 feet above ground, 6,000 feet above ground, 10,000 feet above ground. And that's the radar coverage for all the NEXRADs. But for some reason, it's not wanting to load. What is the error? Failed block by client, mixed content, warning, insecure call. It's because they switched to HTTPS, isn't it? Yeah. Damn it. I'll have to go and fix that.
Okay.
But yeah, over time, like all of my old sources, they switched from HTTP to HTTPS.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
this should have come up. I mean, it's showing this layer for some reason. like all of these Doppler radars are showing up, and I unclick it. I go to this.
That's a lot.
And
Yeah. Where about I would love to see. I can go see California. I've got my kiddo here I've got to go. I do have to go soon. I squandered my free mom time, but this was worth it. That's why I stayed on so long.
These are all the Doppler radars.
That's great.
So that's green is NEXRAD,
Wow.
red is Joint Surveillance Systems, FAA Long Range Radar.
The red is Joint Surveillance Systems,
Yeah.
FAA. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, FAA Long Range Radar. Where are the?
That can't be good.
Is that ADS-B?
No, these are actually like air traffic control radars, and these ones, the yellow ones, are terminal Doppler weather radar. So these are like really highly accurate but short range. These are really long range.
Wow.
Air Route Service Radar 2, ARSR2. These are the reasons why there's no way in fuck that a plane flew into the Twin Towers without the government knowing about it, because the red ones operate as plane, monitoring planes flying around. And as you can clearly see up here in New York, not only would that be damn near impossible, but they had radars all around it to track them. They also have lasers, like all over that area.
They have what?
Lasers.
Like anti-aircraft laser batteries?
Yeah, these are Washington, D.C.
When you scroll out, that is also interesting too. Just the, I'd be curious to see California here, because that's typically, that's where we all are located.
That's Greenbelt's laser defense system right there. And there's no way that you flew into the Pentagon when D.C. is surrounded by laser beams.
I don't know about everyone else in the chat here, but that we know that it was not what we were told.
Yeah. I mean, that's the Greenbelt laser facility.
Wow.
It's directed energy weapons right there.
Wow.
That's a shoot-it-down laser? That's a shoot-it-down kind of laser?
Yeah, that's a burn a hole in your ass laser, and there's multiple.
Where's California? With all the fires and people talking about dews. I mean, there's so much we could talk about. I don't want to take too much time, but I do want to see California's lasers really quick, because I am curious. Where is that? San Bernardino. Interesting. God. Wow. Oh my. Yes, I've wondered what this was before. I've gone on Google Earth to look at where aircraft is coming and going, and I feel like I've seen these stations and I didn't know what they were.
They're from the International Laser and Ranging Service, ILRS.
Okay. Oh, wow, there we go. Okay. Yep.
But my links are broken, so you'd have to go to their new site list if they still have one.
If they still have it. Wow.
Yeah, site information.
Oh, you have a treasure trove here.
Right here. Yeah, so they've changed it.
They did.
Yeah, you can
they
see, like,
made it look like there are fewer, huh?
Monument Peak, USA.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's some pretty creepy ones out there. Like these ones are definitely the Sandia. These right here. This is straight up directed energy weapon north of Skirvy.
What?
Direct energy weapon testing.
Oh my God!
Missile range.
Wow! And they no longer show this on their main map. Look at here's me with my symbolism of the triangle.
Bro, I play Where's Waldo in Google Earth. That is that place.
Yeah. Wow.
So I read about these places, and actually this is a huge valley. So like if you go down here to the very bottom, you can turn it on 3D.
Wow.
And you can actually see it in 3D.
Oh my God.
That's like on a mountain range over here. And then there's this huge valley, and then over here on the other mountain range is the other one. Actually, that's GODSS. This is for
look at that.
tracking
Wow.
satellites.
Where is that? That is in New Mexico. Wow.
Yeah. And
my.
where is that's the other one. That's
Yeah.
Salinas Peak and White Sands Missile Range,
Oh, God.
Apache Point.
Oh.
I'm trying to find the really, really cool in the Starfire Optical Center. It's not that. Why am I drawing a blank? I think I have too many things on the damn screen. That's what
So I can find this on your website still, right?
Yeah.
I want to say thank you for even documenting this much. This is really...
my maps, I went harder on them than anything.
I
literally
is what we need.
every nuclear detonation in the
Wow.
history of the world on this thing. Why is it not here? Like, I'm so drawing a fucking blank right now because that should be on here. And it must be on a different map. But it's here. And I'm not understanding. Like, what the fuck? I'll have to go back and look at my stuff now because I'm so confused.
There's so many right there. My goodness. Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, God.
This guy.
My.
There it is.
Wow.
That's it, firing all three lasers.
Wow.
And that's the sodium laser. Huh?
That's not CGI?
That's not CGI. That's Starfire Optic Range.
What can they do with that?
Take out targets in the sky.
Shoot shit out of the sky.
Yeah.
Oh, it's at Kirtland Air Force Base. Oh, page not found. Eh? Watch this.
Story
Check
of my life.
archive.
Oh my God, that's great. Oh geez, it takes. Yeah, this is amazing.
Yep, they took it down.
Wow.
Of course, they took it down.
Of course, yes. My goodness.
I had the fact sheets backed up, and they
Oh.
request to remove. Like, Wayback Machine's really sold out to the military lately on that kind of stuff.
Jeez,
but yeah, you can look it up. I mean, it's not even hidden anymore. Like, if you go there, I guarantee you there's.
Yep, Research Lab. I see that all the time. Air Force Research Lab. Yep, they've done.
Starfire Optical Range.
Yeah, wow.
Space domain.
There we go.
And
archive this page too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's another shot.
Oh my God, yeah.
The sodium laser right there.
Wow.
I didn't make that shit up.
No.
Not CGI.
Trip. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, when you look at the stuff that's out there that I've been able to find, you go,
yep.
Christ, what do they got? They're not.
I know. I was going to jokingly say flat or round, but we won't go there.
I got all these links at the bottom. There's their budget.
Jeez.
I know it's not there. But, oh, this is DTIC.mil, so that's definitely an archive. Web data.
No way. Yeah.
Kick move.
Wow.
Copy link address. Go back to way back. Put it in. Pull it up.
I'm so glad this is being recorded. Holy cow.
I wonder how big it's going to be.
Yeah. This is why we archive Seth. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to make archives. All right, don't fuck with me this time. There's my save.
Oh, good. Okay. Wow.
I save everything when I put it in there.
You're great. I don't even.
There's their whole.
Oh my.
For the Starfire Optical.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah.
It said future space vehicles too. They're talking about. I just caught that with my eye. This is wild. Wild. Wow. Spacecraft.
Apply advanced high energy laser optical coatings to 3 meter substrates. Yeah, I mean it's all. This is like complete integration and begin testing of sodium beacon laser on Starfire Optical Range 3.5 meter telescope.
Oh my God.
That sodium laser burn a hole in anything. It's freaking crazy. But yeah, I go and I put all my links at the bottom, and then
Brilliant.
all this stuff is atrophied, but the photos, you can't take them back because they're saved locally. I mean,
Yep.
they're on time.
That's amazing. Jeez. Now, how are you? I mean,
That's
why
all
don't they
it is.
take your website down?
They can't.
Okay, you have layers of protection. I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah, well, for one, it's already mirrored on Cloudflare,
Okay.
and for two, because of the way I design my website, I showed this. Hold on. My Sublime Text wants to update. Package control dependencies have been migrated to Python libraries. Okay. Do it. Super fast. Thank you. So, Seth, you can see this, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Seth would get
All
it,
right.
I think.
So this is the website, climateviewer.org. You basically, I don't know, I can't make this side bigger, but basically, like, you have your default layout, so it's base of, and then this is the markup language.
That's
Like
his
that.
language. This is I glaze over here too. I just glaze right over.
Single page, define main. If the parameter type is 3D, then load partial CV3D. Otherwise, if it's sitemap, load the sitemap page. If not, if it's a post, load the map page. If not, if it says monitor, load the Earth monitor. Otherwise, else, load a fucking page.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as it is. So the CV, like, if it's parameter type 3D, you go to content right here, static page, Climate Viewer 3D. And it literally just says type 3D. So that's the whole Climate Viewer 3D page right there, is the front matter.
Hey, guys, I have to duck out. Excuse me. I've got company coming over, so.
Yep.
Great stuff. I'll
Yeah,
catch up
it
the rest
is. It
of
is
the recording.
fantastic. Bye, Seth.
Okay. See you guys. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up too. I gotta get out
Let's do
of
it.
here.
Yep. I gotta my
It's
kiddos.
dinner time.
Jim, I want to say I just thank you. It's really a pleasure to see all your work. I'm mind blown, and yeah, I already said what I need to say in the chat, and I said it to Jeff. But I want, we'll be in touch.
Everybody has a bad day, and I said to Seth at the time, there are people who just like literally, they're like, I've had enough of your shit, and
Yeah.
and then come back to me the next day and we're like, okay, maybe I was a little harsh, but I'm like, maybe I deserved it.
I'm impulsive and hot. That is my nature, and I think with all that I'm doing and just all that I've been learning, I've been on Rapid Absorb, and it's a lot. It's intense, and I feel like I'm alone sometimes in what I'm absorbing, right? So, I think
a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. And Jeff, I'm so glad you recorded, because all of this is like just mind blowing, wonderful. And now I know where I could probably spend some more time, researching. It's just really just going to your webpage. You've done a lot of work. I want to say thanks for that.
It's a labor of love. You don't have to thank me. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. It's just
I wish I had.
fun.
I think. Well, I mean, I'm obsessed with looking and researching, but then my problem is I do not organize my files. So I have infinite screenshots and videos. The only thing that saves me is the timestamp on my phone, which is the double-edged sword. So,
if I didn't make my websites to organize all this shit, I wouldn't be able to find half of it. That's why.
No, I know. I'm sort of lost in the shuffle here. I've just been shoveling files over to hard drives, and those hard drives are floating around the house, and I've got a child at home, and it's a lot. So, but I'm just grateful to see that somebody out there has been documenting and so well organized and so knowledgeable. I'm really impressed.
If this video resonates with you, leave me a comment, because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.